Hey, are you a player who's always looking to pump up your serve speed? Well, today I'm going to go over 3 serve myths that you've heard online that you probably thought, hey, this makes pretty good sense, and it's actually killing your serve speed. I'm going to tell you why these tips are made, how they can actually help you, but how they're also hurting you, and give you the best of both worlds so you can go out there and really start crushing your serve today. Plus, at the end of this video, I'm going to go over a drill I call the 3X power serve drill that's going to have you maybe hitting the ball 10 to 20 miles an hour faster today if you go out and you try this. And then for you guys who are just totally obsessed with the game and really looking to pump up your serve speed, I even have a 3-part bonus train on serve speed today. So if you're somebody who is looking for more power in your serve, you're watching the ultimate guide to serve power. Let's get started. Okay, so before we go into these 3 myths, why do you want serve speed? Well, it's pretty obvious, right? If you're watching the tour, you can see that these players are absolutely busting their first serves. Doesn't matter if you're watching men or female tennis, they're hitting big serves, they're getting some free points, and they're getting second easy shot putaways, or they're able to set up the point really well. And if you're out there and you find that you're basically 50-50 once a point starts every time, or you're actually fighting from behind because your serve is so slow, it's a really tough way to go if you want to hold serve consistently. So if you're able to boost up the power and get the serve in, it's going to make holding serve so much easier. Now, the first serve myth is that your legs are not that important, and that it's all about having a live arm, and that's where you're getting all your power from. And I absolutely disagree with that. The kinetic chain, working the power from the ground up, is extremely important. Now, the instructor demonstrating this was basically on their knees, and they were able to show you that, look, I can pound the serve from my knees, and I can hit the ball about 9 miles an hour. Well, I can do about the same thing too from the ground. But what you're not really appreciating is that the instructor was still able to use their legs. They're still, as I'm doing this serve, I can still feel my legs using ground force. Although my legs are cut off, they're shortened, and I'm able to still, as I'm doing this, you notice I'm still using my hips, I'm still feeling my knees dig into the ground because that's all I have to use, and so I am still using my legs to create the speed coming off of the racket. Now, if I take my legs completely out of the equation and I come down here, and now I take my legs off the ground, and then I go, I feel no power and no control. Those serves are going a lot slower. So the legs are extremely important. Why are the legs so important is we are using what we call the kinetic chain, and that is the principle of ground force, to where what we're doing is we're using the ground as energy, and we're digging down the ground, and then as we come up, all the energy is shooting up through our body piece by piece, and then ending, connecting in our racket at the contact point. So even though the ground is super important, what I don't think is so important is the idea of jumping in the beginning. Now, if you're somebody who has been playing tennis for a while, and you feel very comfortable digging into the ground, jumping, being balanced, and feeling that your body is totally in sync, and you notice that you're getting more power when you jump, then that's great. Especially if you're making your serve. But if you feel a little bit out of control, or that your body is not really ready to do that, you can still use your legs and the ground for much added power. And the way you want to use this is when you're going to serve, when you come down here and you're getting ready to toss, that's when you're going to bend your legs. And then right when you get ready to swing, that's when you're going to spring up and get on your tippy toes, which we'll get into a little bit later, because that's going to be another serve myth that we're gonna cover. But right here, look how I'm using this. I'm here, I bend the legs, and I spring up into that serve. I'm here, I bend the legs, and then I get up on my tippy toes and serve. One more time. Get set. legs, and snap. Now, if I want to go more advanced, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig into the ground and then I'm going to jump up into the serve, and that's where I can hit my biggest serves. But again, don't do this if you don't feel coordinated when you go to jump, because lots of people when they go to jump, they lose body control and they can't keep the ball in play. So you're not going to get more power that way. Okay, so my next serve myth. Now this might drum up some controversy. I'm certainly open to the conversation and the comments and the questions you might have when I talk about this, but I've seen some videos that talk about that the serve is not really akin to throwing, it's more like a shot put if you're going to compare it to another sport or motion. And this is where I'm going to have to disagree. I grew up throwing a ball, and I feel that serving very much feels like a throw and not at all like a shot put, although there's some great ideas with the idea of comparing it to a shot put. So I'm going to also talk about how the shot put tip can help you, but how I think it's also hurting you, especially when it comes to serve speed. So when you take a look at the two activities, let's think about what a shot put does. Were they a shot putter? Would that be their professional name? Let's take a look at what a shot put would look like, a shot put throw would look like. They get that heavy ball on their shoulders, and they're basically pushing up, right? They're coming here and they're rotating and pushing. It's more of a pushing movement. So now let's take a look at a throwing motion and what that looks like and how we can compare it to a serve. A throwing motion, if we're getting ready, we're more down here and we've got our wrist cocked and ready to go, and we have this momentum and snap, this quick snap like delivery, okay? That to me feels much more like a serve. And so I'd be here, I've got basically a bicep curl going, and then I'm also using the kinetic chain just like in a shot put. I'm coming here and snapping and releasing, and so it's here. And we can see power coming out of that throw. If I'm going to feel the same motion serving, basically throwing my racket at the tennis ball, I'm able to create a lot of racket head speed and a lot of power, and that feels just like throwing to me. Now I'm going to explain, I'll show you a couple from the back of a throw, and then we're going to explain how we want to combine both ideas, how we do want to use the shot put idea, and we do want to use the throwing idea, and where the throwing idea can actually be dangerous. There's actually some ways you can get caught up on the idea of throwing, how that can also mess you up. So I'm going to go through both of those right now. So let's take a look at a professional quarterback compared to somebody who's an Olympian and is a shot putter, so you can see the comparisons in the technique. Okay guys, so here we are. We're going to be throwing. Now I also more want you to think about a quarterback throwing a long bomb to win a football game than a pitcher who's throwing the ball lower and fast across the plate. The serve motion is more like the quarterback, because when you're serving, you want to get into what I call a tilt, and you do want to be swinging up, accelerating up, which would be more like if I'm a quarterback and I'm throwing a long bomb. So here we go. I'm basically going to try and reach the other side of the bubble here, and it's going to be more like a quarterback throwing a long bomb. This is how I feel when I'm throwing or serving a ball. This is how I feel when I'm serving. And we can see there that we easily reach the other side of the bubble, and that's because I've got that live arm action with a throw. I've got the power, I've got the acceleration. Now I'm going to use my racket and feel the same exact movement And this is how I'm creating the power and the racket head speed as opposed to shot putting my serve, which is completely different feeling. You can see those serves moving pretty good. That was a big serve right there. Okay, so now let's talk about how the shot put idea is actually good for the serve. I think we can see after my demonstrations that as far as for racket head speed and acceleration, the shot put pushing idea is really not going to get the job done. But what it is good for is the idea of using your legs. If you watch a shot putter, they get way down on their back glute, they come out of it, and as they're releasing, they're also keeping their body more facing towards the side here. So as I release, I'm more going straight up, which is a good idea for the serve, and I'm getting to the height of extension and going like that. And that is good for the serve. I'm coming here and up. That's the idea of a serve when you're going to hit. As you see, if I'm just going to mimic that with a serve, I'd be here, I'd bend, and then as I'm hitting, you can see my shoulders and my chest especially, is still facing the camera when I'm making contact, and then it rotates. Where if you watch especially a baseball pitcher releasing, as they're at their release point, they're actually facing right at their target. So if we have the catcher over there, when I'm coming out and releasing, I'm here, my chest's actually facing my target, and you don't want to do that on the serve. So that's where the throwing motion, if you take it too literal, that's why a lot of times you have to be careful about these tips. If you take it too literal, you can come here, come out too early, and then you're actually losing power by hitting that way. So what you want to do is kind of combine the two ideas of the shot put as far as here and being here when you release, but the live arm action of throwing a long bomb, because what you're going to see, let me just show you here, I'll do a throw, which you're going to see my chest come out to my target too early if it were serving, and then I'll do a serve, and you're going to see that my chest is actually facing the camera when you put in slow motion. So here comes the throw, and again, by the time I'm releasing, you're going to see full rotation, you're going to see the chest go that way. And now here comes the serve. So now we're combining the throwing motion and the shot put idea. And here comes the serve, and you're going to see the angle is different. So let's get into our last serve myth tip that you might have heard, especially this is more given at your local courts when you're a beginner, but sometimes people get to a certain level, 3-5, 4-0, and they stop taking lessons and they don't get the progression of where the coach actually wanted to take them long term. And that is the idea of scratch your back on the serve. And I think almost anybody who's taken a tennis lesson, especially if you're over the age of 40, you have probably had that tip where it's like, scratch your back and serve the ball. Now, why that's good is if you watch the pros, you see all the pros, when they get ready, they do run that racket down their back, and the tip of the racket actually a lot of times will be facing right to the ground. Like if it had a laser, it'd go right into the ground. So that can be a good idea as far as getting your student to scratch the back and then serve. But what happens is it totally kills the momentum. And for lots of people, because they've heard that scratch the back tip, they start to develop a hitch in their serve. And so it completely ruins the momentum and the flow. So what will happen is the player will look something like this. They're going to come here, they're going to scratch the back, and then they're going to serve, which is taking a lot of the momentum away from that serve motion. And what you want to do is that you don't necessarily always have to have a continuous flow. Like Serena Williams, she had a continuous flow and then would come down here and then go up. Andy Roddick would come here and hesitate and then go down. But once you go into your racket drop, that's the one thing, that's the one place that no pro slows down. They all move through that racket drop. There is no hesitation, there is no hitch right there. So you might have a hitch here, but once you start to come down, you got to keep it going full steam ahead. So here we go. Are you ready? So I have an entire course of 3x power serve drills. Probably, I don't know, maybe over 20 of them. But this is one of my favorites because it includes something I call the secret power source, which if you sign up for my 3-part series here at the end, you're going to learn more about what that is. The thing about the secret power source is most recreational players don't include it. I had 30 people when I was making the 3x power serve course. I had 30 people send in their serve video. 28 of them didn't have it. The 2 that did, by far, you didn't have to put a speed gun or anything, they by far had the biggest serve. It was obvious. So what the secret power source is, it's something that all professional athletes, when it's in a throwing motion, whether it's Roger Federer, who has a very pronounced secret power source, or Tom Brady, or one of your favorite baseball pitchers, they get into the secret power source, and that is angling the racket this way rather than coming here too soon, getting here, and then going into that racket drop and acceleration. So what I want you to practice is, again, leaning the racket forward. See how that racket's going forward? Right here, you cannot jump. In fact, the only thing we're gonna do is move our toes. So we're gonna feel how to use our hips. We're starting the secret power source, so we feel really nice grounded. We're gonna use that kinetic chain here, and then a quick acceleration and snap. We're not worried about if the ball goes in or out, so make sure you're plenty warmed up when you do this. You're here, and snap. Okay, this is all I want you to do today. Here, and snap. Now, how do I do it? How do we call it the 3X's? Because what I want you to do, if you're not used to this, is I want you to do one where you're throwing a ball. So the first thing you're gonna have is you're gonna have a ball in your hand. You're gonna get yourself in the secret power source. It's like the ball almost becomes like a cobra head, right? There's my fangs right there. And so I'm here, right here in secret power source. Look how the elbow, look at the angle right here. This is going to create a lot of quick live action, quick snap in a short amount of time. Here, snap, okay? That's one. Number two is you're going to get the racket and then you're going to practice a shadow swing. Two, and try and see if you can hear your racket buzzing by your ear, okay? Do that. Maybe do that a couple more times. Although the way we do it for the 3X is we do one throw, one quick snap, and then get right back, and then snap serve, and see how big you can serve that ball. I'll show you from behind. Okay guys, there you go. So I think if you go out there and you take all the information we've been giving you today and you just go out to the court right now, you're going to notice more power in your serve. But I want to invite you, if you are like a truly obsessed tennis player, like I'm an obsessed tennis coach, I want to invite you to try out my 3X Power Serve Training Series. It's a 3-part series. It's really good. We're going to go into the secret power source more. We're going to show a stance mistake that people were making also when they sent in their video. And then I'm going to show you in video 3 how I was able to serve the ball 120 miles an hour 2 times in a row when I didn't think I was going to be able to, and a really cool drill that's going to increase your serve speed. In fact, I'm going to put a quote here before I play you a preview of this lady who actually went out and tried it, and she said that she was so happy, she was jumping for joy, literally, and she actually hit one serve 100 miles an hour. So she was super juiced about it. She's a 3-5 player. Anyway, look at the preview. If it sounds good to you, sign up, and I'll see you inside the training. Hey everybody, it's Pete and Matt from Crunch Time Coaching.